everyone, my name is Kathy. This is my YouTube channel called The Daily Marker. I also have a blog called The Daily Marker. Today I'm going to be showing you how I created this card here, and I made a bonus card just to show with you. I love the stamp set from Hero Arts. It's super cool, and I want to show you two different ways to ink up this pear without using the sentiment, because we don't want the sentiment on all of the fruits. So let's go ahead and get started with that. I'm just using some memento ink because we'll be doing some Copic coloring, and I'm taking the very tip of this little ink pad to use the ink and just ink up the outside of the edges. This way I don't have to stamp the whole thing and then wipe off the center part. I'm going to show you that as well, but right now we're just inking up the outer edges. See, there's a little bit of ink there on the left of the stamped image, but that's okay because whenever you buy fruits and veggies, there's always something on them, and I want these to look realistic, not perfect. Now I'm showing you the other way here. I stamped the entire pear with the sentiment, and I'm removing with a wipey the center. Now see, usually you'll see here that even if you wipe it off, sometimes it leaves some of that sentiment. So it's much easier for me just to go along the edge like this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to speed this up, and I'm going to do a lot more of these lemons and limes. Now you can see all my stamped images, and I love this Copic book, and I want to just show you how I selected my colors for today. I just picked my green section, my yellow section, and then I chose my markers this way. That way it saves me time. Now I'm just cutting some of these, and we're going to color them really quick, starting with the green. And I sped this up because I know time is always limited. But I'm really just literally scribbling on these limes right now. This is a lemon, but I wanted to make it a lime. So it's really super fast, super easy to do this. And you'll see why, because we're going to be using some, I pointed to the tip there because that marker's running out. Now we have a darker marker here, G07, and we're just adding a little flicking, little highlighting, and then just some dots, because if you look close at lemons and limes, they have little dimples, little puckers. And there's no rhyme or reason to this because they're going to be stacked all different ways on the card. Just add some little pockmark puckers, color those leaves really quick. Now we're going to be using this Copic Various ink, and I always put that lid back on. I'm scruffing up my rag, and I'm placing it down to give us lots of texture. Sometimes I do this technique and I have a damp rag. This time it's pretty wet with the Various ink, and I'm drying it from the back and on the front. I want to preserve that texture, and you can see it's really some nice texture there. So there was no reason to go slow and color this. Now I'm going to just add some, color the stem and the leaf, and just add one little line of shading there, and then blend that out with the other color. I mean, you don't even have to do that. You barely see them. Now I'm adding some Mowed Lawn Distress ink on the edges of these. And I forgot to turn my video on, but you saw how I just did that, and I did that to all of them on both sides, so it really highlighted the center. And you'll be watching me do it later in the video on the lemons. Now we're going to go ahead and start coloring the lemons, and I just pointed out the ink marks where I didn't wipe all the sentiment off, and that doesn't matter. I want these to look imperfect and realistic. So I'm just throwing down that color, coloring really quick. You can see how fast I'm doing this. Now I'm going to speed up the rest. So I'm just finishing up coloring these lemons. I'm adding some highlights here with Y26, I think, and some of those dots, pockmarks, whatever you want to call them. Remember, I'm just going for that realistic look. They're not going to be like beautiful. So I'm speeding this up. We're going to finish these lemons, and then we're going to take the Copic blending solution on my nubby rag here and saturate that. Always put that lid back on, and then we'll be putting that down on the image to get a nice textured look. And then after that, I suggest you dry it, and we will move on to the next step. Now we want to add some distressing to the lemons like we did for the limes. You briefly saw me do that. So I'm inking up my ink blending tool, and I'm going to add the distressing to each side of the lemon. Therefore, the highlight will be in the center. So just keep reapplying so you get a nice generous amount of ink, and always start on your craft mat and then bring the tool towards the center of the lemon. Hover, hover, hover is my key words. Always kind of hover in the corner and then slide that tool towards the center of the lemon. So I'm hovering here on the right hand side, just kind of staying on the edge and bringing it in a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of this lemon. Now we're going to be using some more distress inks. We're going to use some of the mowed lawn, the green. I'm switching the pad here, and I'm going to notice I store it on the bottom of the pad, and I'm like, who has time to put it on the tool? Since this is such a small area, let's just grab the pad and ink it up that way. So I sped it up, but I put the green on the leaves, and now I'm using some brown just on the stems. And then I'm going to take the same brown and do a little bit, very carefully, on one side of the lemon and the limes. You'll see that right here, just very gingerly, just a little bit, and it just adds that little bit of highlight. So you color, quick color with distress inks, with Copics, and then add highlights with distress inks. Now I'm taking a black memento marker here, and I'm inking up all the white edges. It gives your cards a very finished look. This is worth every tiny step. Now we're taking some distress stickles. They're like magic. So open this jar. I like to work from the mat. I like to put some on the mat, and I like to apply it with the brush, almost like stippling it, kind of tapping it up and down on my image. So some areas it's thicker, and you tend to get more of the sugary coating when you do this, rather than if you're just brushing it from left to right. So I did it to all my lemons and limes, and now I have some glossy accents, and I'm adding that to the leaves only. You don't want everything to have rock candy on it, and you don't want everything to have glossy accents. Now we're going to start with the background. So I'm trimming this piece of cardstock here so it fits better on my background stamp. I love this cool geometric artistic background from Hero Arts, and I'm generously inking it up with some Memento black ink because I'm going to be coloring certain areas of it. And so just make sure you have all the surface covered. Then I like to lay my paper on top, and then I'm going to use this some scrap paper just to smooth it out to keep my fingers from getting dirty. So there we go. I got a nice impression the first time around, and I'm going to be adding some Copic colors here. It's super fun, super easy, and very relaxing to color like this. There's absolutely no shading. You're just putting that color on there. And I was going to just highlight certain areas of that background, but I decided, as you can see here, that I ended up coloring a lot of it. It was so easy, and I added some red highlights. A great way to tone down a background is to add vellum, like I did here, and I always like to leave a little bit of it peeking around the edges. Just add some a glue pen around the edges and adhere it. And I cut, as you can see, a hole in the center. I love these stitch circles by Simon Says Stamp, and this is the glue pen that I used. Sorry about that. So I cut the hole and I want to position the lemons and limes in that hole. I just taped them down. I'm going to add some foam tape to the backs just to hold them down a little bit better. The great thing about the Rock Candy Distress Stickles, it kind of makes them curl and have more shape and body to them. So now I like to go around the edge with a paper, not a paper piercer, yeah, paper piercer. And I just like to make sure there's no little phrase or anything. And I pop dot the lemon with the sentiment, and that's it. It was so fun to make. I think you'll enjoy it. And here's both cards. I made a bonus card with my extra lemons and limes and the negative space of that cutout circle. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Check out in my description the supply list if you're wondering where to get anything, or click over to my blog, The Daily Marker.